At the heart of an industrial revolution is an innovation that changes everything. Building AI Boston sees artificial intelligence as a renaissance. From the heart of innovation and the mecca of tech learning, we bring you AI for Real People, a conversation for everyone. In this episode, we feature Amanda Dorenberg, a technology and media executive with a passion for disrupting traditional industries via new and emerging tech. Her work has been featured in top national and international media outlets, including Mashable, Forbes Tech, Elle India, Tech Times, to name just a few. She's an active contributor to Forbes Tech Council, Entrepreneur Magazine, Fast Company Executive Board, and Rolling Stone Culture Council. Amanda is also the co-founder and global CEO of Arts House Media Group, the parent company to Billboard Canada, Billboard UK, Rolling Stone Quebec, Arts Help, Waveland, North by Northeast, the Climate Library, OOH.org, and so much more. Find out how this CEO is driving innovative change across the media industry by combining community, media, and technology. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anna. It's a pleasure to be here. Always nice to see you.
So nice to be with you. And my God, I get exhausted just reading all of that. I don't know how you function.
Not a lot of sleeping.
I know you have oh my God, but you have a lot of entourage. And I have to tell the audience, I'm really jelly of your social media that make you look just stunning.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Shout out to the marketing and PR and communications team for that.
No kidding. And may I say, in this month of International Women's History, I bow to you, goddess. You are fantastic. And
oh, likewise. Honestly, let's support all of us females and female entrepreneurs, female executives, females looking to get into this space. I love it. Thank you.
I love it too, but that was my wonderful landslide get for the month, is to get you on here and to just chat a little bit about what you do. I mean, you're just one of those people that I marvel that I know you, and yet you're so grounded and so down to earth. And I got to say that shout out to that Canadian, sensibility that you have. I mean, let's just start. I'd love to know a little bit about young Amanda, because I know, I know something about your history. I'm going to ask you for your human story, but were you interested in tech as a young person?
To be honest, no.
Good answer. Yeah.
Like, I'm full transparency. So I grew up in the middle of nowhere. So outside of Toronto in Canada, probably 4 hours outside of the city. Really didn't have a lot growing up. And it was back in the 80s, early 80s. So there wasn't a lot of technology to even be interested in.
Right? Same. That's so OG, but that's true. Yeah.
So I played in farm fields and I picked blueberries and I fought with my older brother. I was interested in fashion, really interested in fashion. I used to collect, in my 10 to early teens, I would collect fashion magazines. And I was intrigued by that because I grew up in a very small town. There was maybe 1,200 people. And so it was so foreign to me. I never saw these beautiful, creations in real life. So I just kind of drowned myself into fashion magazines. And I was an artist. I started drawing and painting as a young child. So technology was not in the forefront. To be honest, how I got into tech, I fast-tracked through public school. I skipped a few grades and I graduated high school by the time I was 16. And I had moved out of my parents' house. You and I have spoke about this previously, and I'm an open book. It was a relatively, tumultuous youth. My parents struggled with addiction and, were physically abusive. So I decided to leave my parents' house 2 days after my 16th birthday, but I had already graduated high school. And I needed to go to college. So I get the college book, the pamphlets back then when everything was on paper. I was reading the course offerings and what was potentially available. And I looked, because I was on my own, I looked at what education was going to get me the highest salary post graduating. And it happened to be computer programming. So that's what I took. Wow. But I ended up loving it.
That's amazing, because I'll stop you right there. And I do thank you for your transparency. That's kind
Of
of
course,
one of the other things I love about you, is
of
just
course.
it bring it down to a very human level. I think that's why you and I are passionate about mental health and passionate
Yes.
about people that we serve. I have a very similar background. It was not
Mhm.
perfect. It was actually really hard. I didn't touch a computer though till I was in college. So I'm kind of impressed that you picked programming. Um and if you don't mind talking a little bit about your journey from, this college girl into, is it fair to call you the queen of digital media? Do people still call you that?
I don't know.
You don't know. It's fine.
But just no, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm just a normal person who
Yeah.
understands digital media. So let's
No.
just go with no.
Okay. Good answer. And I respect that. And I would just love to find out, though, a little bit about how you made the jump from, from modeling into where you are now. I know that's a story. If you don't mind sharing a little bit of that too.
It is a bit of a story. So, as I said, as a young child, I was interested in fashion, and coincidentally, I did get scouted by Elite Modeling Agency when I was 14. So very young, put through the model development program. So when you're that young, they put you through courses to learn about the industry and various different components of working in the fashion world, whether it be print or editorial or commercial campaigns, runway, that type of thing. And when I was 16, I got placed with IMG Worldwide. So I was fortunate enough to be able to travel to some really cool places at a very young age. And to be very transparent, most of my college education, I didn't even show up at. I wrote tests to be exempt from attending the classes.
Mhm.
And I would just show up to write like the midterms and the exams. And then I showed up to write the finals to get my degree. So I really didn't have a typical college experience. I was modeling predominantly and
I
working at a call
I
center.
and I relate to that, because I had a theater degree and I was always taking a full load of classes and then dropping out to do a theater gig and then dropping out to work full time. It was like, I don't know what my GPA is from college, but it was
I have no idea.
disastrous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have no
So,
idea. I know I graduated.
right.
And that's,
Did you have nightmares about it a long time? I had nightmares that I didn't finish everything. And then for
well, I
years.
didn't go to like high school prom or like the college graduation ceremony. So in my head, I'm like, I don't even know if I have the actual certificates anywhere. And it's so long ago. I mean, it's like 25 years ago. Oh gosh, I feel old now.
No, don't have to take down the math, but I'm telling you, this is what's so important about your story, because I just spoke at a women in data like AI summit, and they were so shocked by my vulnerability, saying, "Yeah, my kid is my IT person. I don't know anything about AI, and here I am doing an AI show." I love that, because it's our vulnerability that expresses something to younger generations of women, and that's what I love about your story. It's not a straight line,
It's
and women
definitely
need to
not.
understand, like, your passion is your through line. And continue. I didn't mean to hijack that story.
No, I love it. Thank you so much. So I did going through like the college experience and just learning. There's a lot of math in computer programming. It's code. It's a different language. There's a lot of math. So inherently, math was always one of my favorite subjects in school. But as a young fashion model, traveling and being exposed to different countries and different cultures, being able to travel internationally for the first time and experience these unique opportunities. I didn't look like everyone else, and I still don't, which I love.
Mhm.
But especially back then, I really didn't fit into the stereotypical fashion model
Mhm.
aesthetic. So the girls weren't nice to me. They were mean.
Oh.
And I ended up making friends with the production staff on shoots because the girls wouldn't really talk to me or engage with me. So I was inquisitive and I wanted to learn. I would ask questions about, why the brand or the campaign or whoever is producing, the art director, would choose somebody like me in addition to these other, models and these other talents that are on set.
Mhm.
And so I inherently gained a pretty curious nature with respect to the marketing and advertising space. And so I went back to school when I was 18 and I did a bachelor's degree in marketing, media, and communications.
Mm.
And when I was 21, I opened my first company. So it was a model placement agency where I would scout young talent, and I would place them with the large international and national agencies.
Mhm.
And then when I was 23, I opened an artist representation agency. So representing photographers, videographers, DOPs, et cetera, very much in the creative space. And I was still a model myself. And so the early part of my journey is very much on the creative side, like the fashion, the media, the entertainment, the marketing, the campaign, creative side of things. And when I was 27, you and I have spoke about this before, so I won't go into too much detail, but I'm happy to answer any questions if people watching want to learn more about this part of my journey. When I was 27, I was modeling on set at a photo shoot. And I had a brain aneurysm too that ruptured simultaneously. So I was sent immediately to hospital. I was paralyzed on my right side temporarily and blind. And it was a very significant time in my life. So that happened in June of 2009. And in September, at the end, I wasn't able to have a full surgery until September because there was too much damage to my brain. And so I had to wait that process out a little bit for some healing before they could do what's called a full craniotomy, which is a 12-hour plus surgery. And I have a beautiful horseshoe-shaped scar that I wear very proudly. But that experience actually caused me to have to close those two businesses and to reevaluate my journey and my path. I wanted something a little more stable. I still was into the fashion side of things, so I did some PR for a fashion designer for a brief period of time. But then I really loved the business side of the media and the advertising space. So I decided to take a role at a traditional newspaper company back in the day, and I was in charge of creating innovative opportunities for print newspapers. So this was back in 2011, and we leveraged QR codes, which no one used because no one had a phone to be able to scan it. So a little bit early. And then I was fortunate enough to get brought into a startup company in the media, the out-of-home space. And leveraged my curiosity within the technology space and self-taught an understanding of consumer analytics and consumer targeting, demographic targeting, psychographic lifestyle targeting as to how brands and marketers are speaking to their target audience, and was able to position that in a technical way where back in 2012, we were the first company in the Canadian space to integrate mobile retargeting with traditional out of home. And I know that sounds so rudimentary now, but
no, it's good. It's good. This is a great history lesson along with your personal history. I love advertising and marketing.
Yeah.
I have a similar little Cinderella story, but keep going.
So yeah, we built a product offering under that and went from $0 in revenue to $5 million in our first year, and ultimately sold that company to a large telco. And then I joined another startup company and built what we called an audience intelligence platform. So we partnered with a major telco company, and not only did we use what's called triangulation, so the bounces of the cellular signals between specific towers, we also ingested what's called geospatial location data from mobile applications, which again, back in 2015 when we were doing this, it was quite revolutionary, and we were ingesting this data on a 30-minute to 15-minute interval. So in the Canadian space, we were the first to offer programmatic digital out of home in the Canadian market. And we ultimately sold that to a large publicly traded out of home company. And I had to stay with that company for about 18 months. And then I left to start a blockchain company and was a partner at another ad tech company. And then I got recruited to take over as president of the industry association, which was back in 2020. So I was 37 at the time. And I was the youngest president globally and in that space to run an association that was responsible for creating the industry standard on a measurement perspective for billions of dollars in the offline advertising space. So that was a big focus on data science and analytics. And I could nerd out for hours on that. But simultaneously, while I was doing that, the journey of and the passion for sustainability and social cause was always inherently there. So my business partners and I built a few platforms, let's say, one of which is now the largest global digital arts publication with over 20 million followers across our platforms. And I actually can't take credit. That was my business partner. That was his passion project. And he just kind of brought me in to be the sounding board from a business perspective. But that's one of our not-for-profits that has a very deep rooted relationship with the UN SDGs. So everything to do with climate change. And from there, we just started spiraling and building various different companies in the publishing and the arts and cultural space to support artists. Really our goal and our ethos across everything is that we believe that art, music, and culture can actually really change the world. And I know that sounds like a lofty goal, but we passionately believe that.
Well, I totally believe it, which is why we're here having this conversation. I think that it's really, thank you for that. Thank you for that arc. And I learn new things about that story every time I hear it. So I'm really glad that you break it down in such detail. And what I would say about all that now is right place, right time. Right place,
Agreed.
right time. And I, now that I have an AI show and now that I've known you a couple of years, I actually understand most of what you just explained.
I love that.
I'm like, that's why I started an AI show, to understand what's going on in the world. But I'm actually so happy to feature you for just the intersection of your passions and your abilities and your ability to toggle and pivot. That's so important for people to remember, because I think there's a great deal of anxiety in the world today around job change, and they don't make right. And they don't make them like us. We are certainly an OG species of, I think the resilience in your story is important, but I can relate to it, even though I have never had a traumatic brain injury or surgery. I feel like sometimes life just made me road rash right on my face.
It's true. And I think, at the end of the day, everyone has a personal struggle. Everyone has a personal story. And I find that for me as an individual, I love to share my journey. I love to be transparent because I want people to know that I came from nothing. And if I was able to go through all of this stuff and have that resilience to put myself through school, to travel, as a young teen on my own internationally and have to learn different cultures and languages, and then take the risk to start a business and then have to close those businesses and deal with medical stuff and then have to start over again, in my 30s when most people are probably well situated and settled. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, that's a beautiful statement right there. I'm going to stop you right there. What I'm noticing about, moderating and attending these FemTech summits of women empowering women and women in AI particularly, because we are an AI show, is that the ability to let your guard down and say, I don't know what I know. I don't know what I don't know. And that it's okay to show up and figure it out together and empower each other. I think you're living the renaissance that I see the world can be a part of by just intersection of passion, drive. I aspire to change the world, as you know, from my own perspective and corner of it. And I think that understanding that we are more connected than ever and that somehow it's all going to be okay. You don't get that from, day one. You have to go through some stuff to see that it's really going to be okay. I think it's an important message right now.
I really do as well. And I think, a lot of people, and especially a lot of females in business, like the AI space is a very male dominated sector. And, technology in general is very male dominated. So, sometimes that can be intimidating to speak up, whether it be to provide your opinion and your expertise, or whether it be to say, I don't know this, but I will learn it and I will figure it out. And I may have a lot of questions on that path to figuring it out, but that's okay, because we can't all be experts all of the time. And if we're not learning, if we're not curious, if we don't have that inherent desire to grow as individuals, as, employees, as partners, as business partners, as entrepreneurs, what are we doing? For me, I always love to learn. I want to hear different perspectives. I want to hear other people's journeys, and maybe that will trigger and inspire a thought that I wouldn't have thought of because I didn't hear their specific insights.
I feel like this is a good conversation. Again, I'm going to pick at the human side of this a little bit because I was just at Human X and at a women's event, and I heard something that kind of hurt my heart. And this woman said, "Well, you have to be 3 times smarter than a man, or if you're pretty, it's only 2 times as smart." And I think, in my view, and I get it. I'm an actor, a former actor. I know that competition exists, but I think that's one of those things I'd like to see drop immediately is like, if you don't understand that we got to have each other's back and that what you look like on the outside. I mean, you've lived that model world, and I've lived that very fiercely competitive actor world. It's like, that's the thing I want to see drop first. Because when women don't compete, we've got this in so many ways.
I would love that. And I think what's so interesting, I was just having this conversation with one of the CMOs of a large financial institution. We were having lunch yesterday. And so the timing of this conversation is quite perfect, because she and I were having a similar conversation. And she said, "Can I ask you a question? Do you have strong females in your corner, in your life, who pick you up?" And I said, "Maybe one," which is shocking and astonishing for a lot of people. And so her question was not dissimilar to yours. How do you stay resilient in this space? Like, as females, when we walk into a meeting room, a boardroom, and it's in a male-dominated industry, there may be one other female there, and there's inherently this like competition that comes out from many females, where it's like, well, there's only room for one of us at this table, and it's going to be me. And I would love to see that go away, because I think if we could actually just collaborate and work together, we would be far more effective. And I have experienced it my entire life. I've been the youngest executive at a publicly traded company, and I look very different. I have a mohawk and I have tattoos. And so people make assumptions, and they assume, okay, you're here because you're pretty, or you're here because of X, Y, Z. But then when you show them how you can actually deliver and what the results that you're capable of, I feel like that does go away. So for me, when I talk about this particular subject, I like to reiterate that everyone's going to look at anyone and judge immediately. That's just human nature. People make assumptions, and I don't take it personally. That's a you versus you issue. That's not a you versus me issue. Me versus me is having the confidence to know what I know, and having the confidence to admit what I don't know, and being completely okay with that. And I feel that allows and provides a lot more inspiration and a lot more collaboration when you're humble enough and you're vulnerable enough to say, "I don't know the answer to that. I have no idea. Does anybody else know the answer to that? Do we want to work together to try to figure it out? Who wants to take lead on this? Because not my area of expertise."
Oh my gosh. I think that should be our anthem for the year. Just really get out of the competition mode. And I'm excited because I think you're breaking ground in so many areas. I would love to pivot though and talk about Arts Help. I think it's incredible what you do. I aspire, as you know, to own a little piece of that world. And thank you for your mentorship and your love across the border for that, as you know.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you wouldn't mind, just tell the world what that is, what you do.
So I'll talk twofold. So Arts House Media Group is a media company that myself and my 2 business partners formed. We wholly own. It's completely independent. And we came together all with different backgrounds. Elizabeth has a background in experiential marketing, and she's very passionate about the creative and the immersive side of things. But prior to that, she went to law school and worked at her family's law firm for 5 years. So again, not that, for inspiration, it's not a linear path. She was being groomed to take over her family's law firm and decided, I don't want to do this. I'm passionate about this creative, immersive, experiential industry, and I want to go down that route. Mo, who's my other business partner, came from broadcast. He created a TV show for young youth that were being bullied and focused on mental health and various different social aspects for young youth. And he then went into the PR side of things and content publishing. So we all have very different backgrounds, but it comes together very cohesively to all of the platforms that we have underneath AMG, which is Arts House Media Group. One of our not-for-profits, we do have two not-for-profits underneath AMG, which the first is Arts Help. And as I mentioned earlier, it's now the largest global digital arts publisher, really focused on social change. So we do believe that art can actually drive change. We have a deep relationship with the United Nations. And so all of the projects that we work on, whether they be large projects or small projects, have some sort of connection with the UN SDGs, so the 17 sustainability goals. And then sort of tied to that, we have another initiative called the Climate Library. And the Climate Library is a direct partnership with the United Nations, where we are digitizing approximately 190 different countries, part of the UN, their climate legislation. So believe it or not, for those of you podcasting and the younger generations, a lot of that climate legislation is still on paper with ink, and said ink is drying. So we don't want that history to be lost. And we have committed to digitizing that. So there's a tie-in with our sustainability passion and our passion for just making the world a better place, but also even within our publishing side of things. So with Billboard Canada, with Billboard UK, with Rolling Stone Quebec, we leverage those platforms to really amplify the talent on a global scale. So our full ethos within each of our organizations is to take local, organic, homegrown talent and put them on a global platform. Let them have a voice.
I love that. I feel like that's what's kept me from the music industry, is it just felt so dog eat dog. And every time I see you celebrating women in that space, I just go, that's the beacon on the hill.
We have such a beautiful event. It's so we launched in Canada last year. Our first one, it's Billboard Canada's Women in Music celebration, where we honor both artists, executives, industry professionals, could be managers, but all female or gender diverse in the industry. And it was such a huge success. We're bringing it back again this year in September of 2025. So it's going to be bigger and better. Last year, we honored Alanis Morissette as our icon of the year. So, who doesn't know the Canadian icon, Alanis Morissette? And, if you're an 80s or 90s baby, you definitely know some of her tracks.
I was just telling you offline how most Canadian artists have influenced my style and just my love of music and creativity. And it's good to know you. One thing I want to point out, since we're, kind of tying it up, I think last time we talked, you were announcing that you have North by Northeast, but now it's out there on
it is.
Yeah. So can you tell us?
Yes.
Yeah. And what's your role in all that? Do you go to South by Southwest?
A lot of our team goes to South by Southwest. It's happening, as we're recording this. So as you can see, I'm not at South by Southwest this year. But a lot of our team does go, whether it be to cover the artists, the events, things that are happening, or just to, thoroughly enjoy South by Southwest. So we did recently acquire a majority stake in North by Northeast, which is the Canadian version of South by Southwest. Interesting fun fact, the original founder, Michael Hollett, he's still a partner of ours, and he and the original founders of South by Southwest 30 years ago founded North by Northeast. And so he ended up acquiring the full stakes, and the South by team parted ways with that. But yes, we did acquire majority stakes in North by Northeast, and we are so excited to partner with them and their entire team. This year it's coming up in June, so June 11th to the 15th in Toronto. So we have over 200 emerging artists, unsigned talent that will be showcasing all of their beautiful musical skills at over 22 different venues across Toronto. We are starting the week off with a big event that we call Power Players, which honors the top music executives within the industry, really driving change and sharing a voice for Canadian artists. We're also launching our Billboard Live segment, which is a consumer-facing event that will happen at Saint-Cova Square, which is the formerly known Yonge Dundas Square in Toronto, so the Times Square of Canada, with a big headliner whose name I cannot release yet, but it will be a big one. We are very excited. But yes, the North by team, we have some programming with respect to conferencing as well. So we're doing some artist to artist mini master classes, some educational seminars on how to, 101s, like how to build a media kit if you're an independent artist and you want to get press publication coverage, or how to talk and negotiate a label contract. But then the inspirational side is, some big name artists coming in. We have a very large global Punjabi celebrity coming in to do a talk. We've got some other big headliners that I can't announce at this point in time, but it's going to be amazing.
I like to tease. It's good. It's good to tease.
It's the 30th anniversary. We have to go big. We have to celebrate.
And I want to point this out because we're building AI Boston and we've gone around the globe with you a little bit. And I appreciate all of that. And Boston to me is a state of mind. I'm in Vegas. I go to Boston for this rich academic world. But I learned from, another female, Bobby Carlton. She goes down to South by and judges there. And I didn't know that Boston and Austin were close cousins. I didn't realize that. I don't know these things. And now I hope we'll say that Toronto is a close cousin above us.
I hope so, yeah.
Oh,
it's funny because we were speaking to one of our contacts at the Grammys, and he's American, and he's a good friend of ours. And when Mo who's one of my business partners, had said, we acquired and partnered with North by Northeast, he said, oh my gosh, I'm so excited that you guys have this festival now, because it's so near and dear to my heart. And he has all of these fond memories. It's been around for 30 years. It's showcased some of the biggest celebrities. Like Post Malone played at North by Northeast before he was Post Malone.
Wow. Wow.
It's wild. It's really known as a platform to discover the next up and coming artists from the Canadian landscape. And what better of a partnership than to partner with our Billboard Canada title to amplify that and give that media exposure to this festival and to these artists. We're so excited.
I'm excited to know you. And I have to say that this episode just makes me, it just brings me joy and hope to understand people are out there doing good things. And every program that you touch is building community. I feel very much in league with you. I'm not separated by a border with you. You're very down to earth and accessible. And so I thank you for that. I thank you for joining and talking a little bit about technology. And I had no idea your human journey was just really the foundation. And I'd say that about AI. If you're not connected to what makes you human, then join the renaissance, because AI is only going to make everything better. We just have to hold tight a little while.
Absolutely agree. There's so many opportunities. So I'll stop there. I could talk for hours, but
we'll come back and we'll stay tuned to what's going on in your neck of the woods. And as always, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much, friend.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on Building AI Boston. Stay tuned for more enlightening episodes that put you at the forefront of the conversations shaping our future.